There also seems to be, it's possible, there could be some good news now over the longer term in terms of food supplies. The Crop Estimates Committee says it believes we will still have a very good maize crop. It'll come in at around 15 million tonnes. That's bigger than the 10-year average. And this could be important. If you know anything about farming, all you want to know about farmers is, are they buying more tractors or not? It seems that they are. Wandile Sihlobo is Chief Economist at the Agricultural Business Chamber of South Africa. Wandile, good afternoon to you. Why are our farmers buying more tractors?
Yeah, indeed, Stephen. It's been 2 years of a windfall in as far as the sales of the tractors. Last year, for example, tractor sales up 26% from the previous year. And 2020 was also up by around about 9% compared to the previous year. So what we find is that the large harvest of last year and the 2020, at the same time with higher commodity prices, really boosted the profitability in a number of farms. And we saw the guys really replacing the old machinery. But I think to your point about the outlook of the sector, buying more machinery also sends a signal that people are confident about the outlook and the future of the sector.
Well, this is obviously, I mean, it's really still, despite everything, despite the floods earlier in the year, it's still a very good maize crop.
Absolutely. We were very worried, Stephen. You may recall in our conversation that at the start of the year, we thought that those floods would give us a poor crop, and we were anticipating then what would that mean for a consumer in an environment where globally prices are already elevated. But it turns out that the guys managed to plant as soon as we escaped the heavy rains in central South Africa. Some replanting happened to an extent now that if you were to take the maize harvest that you just mentioned, Stephen, and you add all of the other grains, we are sitting just north of 17 million tons of the harvest of all of the summer grains. That's down 7% from last year, but long-term average, these are really absolutely good levels that we are in.
At the same time, the price of these goods is going up, and we know this because we feel it too, because the dollar price of all of this is internationalized. The price is going up because of Russia's invasion in Ukraine. So what impact is that having? To put it all another way, are farmers buying tractors because they know that what they produce they're going to get more money for? They're going to make bigger profits?
I think this, Stephen, is still a tail end of the past 2 years that I've just mentioned. In our sense, for example, at Agbiz, we had thought that this year we could see that trend changing, but really surprised by the first 3 months of this year where the tractor sales have continued to register really positive improvement if you compare with same period last year. But when we look forward, though, to say the remainder of 2022, we think that this is going to be a break from that year of solid sales. Because the very same point that you are referring to of higher agricultural commodity prices, other inputs like fertilizer are also increasing, and we think that the costs are going to squeeze the farmers. So going forward, that's going to be a challenge.
The other issue is around, as I understand it, even before the flooding in KZN, was the roads. Just to get their crops to market, to get them, well, to market, to the ports was very difficult. The roads now are even worse after the flooding. They're going to need those tractors to pull trucks out.
Yeah, the roads, Stephen, I think they complicate not only just increasing the transaction costs for the commercial farmers, but also the medium and small scale farmers that need to take their produce to certain areas, to the areas of consumption. It's proving to be a major challenge. And I think the massive rains of the start of this year have really exacerbated that challenge, because if you drive across central South Africa to Eastern Cape and other provinces of the country, it's really bad. And of course, KZN is going to be even in a much worse conditions right now. So that is one of the long-standing challenges. And I think when we think about growing the agricultural sector, some of the key areas of improvements that we need to focus on is the infrastructure, the functioning of the municipality, and of course, working with our colleagues at Transnet on saying, how do you bring more efficiency so that the export drive in our agricultural sector remains one of the anchors for growth?
Well, I mean, this also gets to the main point. We've been discussing it really all day about how difficult it is when the port of Durban is closed to get your produce out. Already citrus growers pulling their hair out last year. It's a big year for them. I think they're going to get into China this year. They need to make sure that they hit those targets. They really need those ports to work.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen, you know very well at this point that South Africa exports about 51% of what we produce in value terms. So without the exports, you're really in a tough position. And of course, the Port of Durban is one of the important points of exports. So the current devastation in the province is going to be a challenge. But what has been encouraging is also just communicating with the likes of Transnet and the other logistics companies that we've been in touch with. They're really working hard and making sure that we do see improvements there. But for last year, though, Stephen, I must make the point that with those tougher conditions for our colleagues in the citrus industry and many of our others in agbiz, we've still managed to see some good improvement. For example, South Africa's agricultural exports were at record high in 2021. We reached about $12.4 billion of exports, but it was also record in volumes terms. So it was tough conditions, but I think cooperation between all stakeholders in logistics and industry assisted us. But going forward, we have to say, how do we rebuild and how do we gain more investments into ensuring that our network industries are on solid footing and they are able to assist not only agriculture, but really all the primary sectors that rely on those logistics.
We're going to have more than one port as well. Wandile Sihlobo, as always, thank you so much, Chief Economist of the Agriculture Business Chamber of South Africa.